Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Corporate Cowboys podcast. My name is Alex, again, your host. A little proof of life, you know how we do. Today's date is October 13. It's a Thursday. 2022 is the year. And tonight's discussion, tonight's consultation, I'll try to keep it to 30 minutes, half an hour, and it might be less than that because sometimes these questions don't provide a lot of context. So it requires me to be unduly creative, right? Where if I don't have the original poster, the person who's posing this question to us, if I don't have them before me, if I'm not working with them directly, one-to-one, or with our organization, then I could really only go off of what it is they give us. Tonight, I made the decision to go with an easy but loaded question. It'll give me a little bit of time to be creative, to think on my feet, if anything. And the question is a simple one. It's a really simple question, and it sounds like anyone could give a one-word answer, and it comes from r/CareerGuidance from Reddit, and they're asking for advice. So they've tagged it as asking for advice, and the question is simply this: what's it like working 40 hours a week? Question mark. That's it. The body says, I wanted to know because working 40 hours plus sounds miserable yet profitable. What's your work-life balance like? Now, it's an easy question. Easy. Why? Because it's just literally asking for just anecdotal evidence. There isn't too much empirical evidence unless you are surveying a population that works within a certain company, that works within a certain department, that works within an industry, that works within a specified field, some kind of specific, special, technical variety, right? And sometimes, I'd like to know what it's like to only work 40 hours because in over the span of my career, I've held very few jobs where I worked consistently 40 hours and not a minute over, right? If you have one of those jobs, you more than likely work for the government. I'm sorry to say. You work either for the government or you work for a large enough firm where you just show up for the check, you just show up for the hours. Though, if you can do that, if you can just show up for the check, then why wouldn't you clock in overtime, take advantage of being paid to be there, and do your own, run your own operation, right? You can do it under company time. Obviously, don't get caught on some corporate cowboy shit, right? Don't want to abuse that privilege. Don't want to abuse that opportunity. You definitely want to take advantage of it. Now, I have worked in positions where I've worked less than 40 hours and have made more than in times where I worked where I only worked 40 hours. And that has to do more with the rate of pay, with your wages that you're actually earning. Sometimes there's base pay, there's commission that comes with it. If your salary, it means you're already, either entry-level corporates or pretty high up there. You're some kind of middle manager, and you don't answer to as many people as you did when you were a regular employee, if that makes any sense. You have just one direct supervisor, so your span of control, the span of control after you becomes smaller and smaller, where if you are lower level, an entry level employee at the ground, on the floor, ground level, the span of control ahead of you is somewhat wide. you might answer to more than one manager, right? Throughout a shift, even throughout your day during the week. Now, what's it like to work 40 hours a week? If you think about it, that is a third of your week, right? If you're working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day is already 1/3 of your day. And if you're doing that for 5 days, that's necessarily a third of your week, excluding weekends. And we're assuming here that you have weekends off. Again, I would like to know what it's like to have all your weekends off. I haven't held a government job, a government position, or one that always gave me, 40 hours only and no weekend time, because when you're many times when you're entry level and you're working for an organization, they're going to want to work you on the weekends. They're going to want to work you on holidays, right? Because you're lower level. If they could have somebody's salary, if they had to have somebody's salary come in, then they're going to keep them to 40 hours only, and they're still going to stick them with 2 days off during the week, right? That's if they absolutely need somebody. Otherwise, they're just going to throw you the overtime because you potentially are less of an expense than having someone's salary do that work. Especially if the duties, if the job duties begin to blur across positions, across positional lines. What's it like to work 40 hours a week? Honestly, you treat that period of time as if you're at work. I think this is just coming from a position of high work ethic, having high standards, and being a high performer on the job. You want to take your position seriously. You don't want to slack too much, right? I think the old proverb, the old saying goes, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. And I've been in many positions where if you have any bit of free time, it's going back to prepping, preparation for the future, preparation, whether it's in the form of cleaning, organization, restocking, inventorying, ordering, right, or planning the next shift even, right? If you have any little bit of free time, it's going towards something that's going to be additionally productive. It's going to be something that's already oriented towards success. Otherwise, you're going to get caught lacking, and it's going to hurt sorely. Now, that's going to be in positions that are in organizations that are well managed. If it's not well managed, or if you happen to luck out and are in a position where there's significant amounts of free time, then you have some time to yourself. You have time to use how you see fit, and potentially, if you like your job, you could use it to educate yourself, to edify yourself on how to do the job better, on how to cultivate a reputation within the organization, how to move up, on some corporate cowboy shit. If you don't have that opportunity, if those options aren't available to you, if you cannot take the avenue of moving up, then obviously you don't want to sit still, do you? Unless you want to settle, unless you want to become a lifer, right? Then you begin to look outside of your position, at least. I mean, if your position is siloed within some organization without too much prospect of advancement, think about moving laterally within the same organization, or leaving the organization for the competition, or for one in a different field even. But the goal is going to be self-improvement and professional development, always. I feel like when it comes down to it, working 40 hours a week is is a nominal figure. It should be treated as just space that's required to pay for essentials, right? Granted, there are some individuals who come from better, what's the term I'm looking for? From better means, right? So they might come from money already and resources and don't really have to put in the kind of effort that a more humble means person comes from. A person from humble means, from more humble beginnings. Why? Because you have to ask, like, what is motivation behind becoming better, becoming better as a professional? If the motivation is more money, I feel like that is a good sense of where to go, but it should be undergirded, it should be supported, it should be bolstered by a mission, a personal mission to be better and to do better. Because, I mean, if you just expect money to fall on your lap, then we're back to you believing that seniority matters or that legacy matters, right? Because someone before you came through and did the work, say your parents, right? And you believe you have to be treated like your parents were. I mean, nah, that's your parents' legacy. You have to build your own. Otherwise, you'll live in their shadows. Don't expect to grow much more than your parents' shadow if that's the case. Unless you find a way, again, even within the institution and the family organization, you find a way to break out of the mold and do something better for the sake of the family, then that becomes your legacy. And it's not meant to overshadow your parents. Actually, it's meant to build on what is family in the end. 40 hours a week, that is a significant amount of time, right? Assuming you get 8 hours of sleep as well, you're sleeping away a third of your day. And that's not a bad thing. When I say sleeping away, you're resting, right? And it's well-deserved. It's well-deserved. You work 8 hours, you put in, another 4 hours into a hobby of some kind. And if you don't have a hobby, I insist you get one, even if it's something as basic as reading and writing, because in the end, it helps you hone and polish, even develop social skills that will only help you. It can't hurt you. That will only help you in your pursuit for success, in your pursuit for achievement. Let's take a look at some of these comments here that folks are leaving. And I'm going to guess that because it has to do with work and the masses, the majority of the masses are not managers, right? Obvious, because there's going to be fewer managers the higher up you go in pyramids. I'm just forecasting here. Because there are fewer managers, the higher you go up in periods, the higher you go up in pyramids, in organizational hierarchies, there's going to be more negative commentary than positive. So I'm just giving you that forewarning, that foreshadowing, because our original poster even states, well, 40 hours plus sounds miserable, yet profitable. And I think that profitable there is tenuous, because it really depends on what your compensation plan looks like, whether there's some kind of base wage and something that it enhances it, like a commission on something. Maybe you're in a sales position, maybe you're in a salary position where 40 hours plus is just profitable. It might not even be miserable. It might be a job you enjoy. Even if you are working more than the obligated 40 hours a week, if you're earning a cool 6 figures plus, it might be worthwhile because it's something that drives you. It might be something beyond money. and that puts you in a different category of individual. The first comment here says it's miserable. It's miserable, but I do get paid for taking a shit at work at least 2 to 3 hours a week, so that's a bonus. That's ridiculous. Somebody comments below that, sounds like rookie numbers. Need more poop breaks or stop rushing them. And they have laugh emojis. The second comment here, that got depressing quick, and to me it just tells me that they lack the capacity. They're lacking. They got caught lacking. If you're at work and the highlight of your day, literally, the highlight of your day is getting paid to take a shit at work at least 2 to 3 hours a week, if that's the highlight of your fucking work week, nah, man, you're lacking something. You're lacking the capacity to think outside of the box, to move up, to break molds, to be a corporate cowboy, right? Our belief is that everyone has got potential. Everyone has got the potential. Everyone has got at least one idea to get the fuck out of corporate and do it moving. Everyone's got what I consider to be a quote-unquote $1 million idea. They just lack the know-how. They just lack the knowledge to act on it. The second comment here says, if you want to do anything other than work, it's shit. If you want to be a corporate slave, it's great. Okay, yeah, I guess that would be the equal and opposite of a corporate cowboy, is being a corporate slave. And cowboys don't slave. I wish, this third comment here says, I wish I was at 40. I wish I was at 40, I guess 40 hours. I thought it age-wise. I wish I was at 40. I started a new job 2 months ago for more money and been regularly doing 10 to 12-hour shifts. Some companies say it's 40 hours a week, but give you a workload that's impossible to keep up with in that amount of time. You can only work 40 hours a week if you eventually want to be let go. Meanwhile, I'm looking to move on as soon as I have enough time in at this company not to kill my resume. It sounds like a very judicious person. It sounds like they've taken into account the fact that some companies claim to be, like this is like a big family. This is like a great big family. And then they see some incestuous ass bullshit, people getting fucked over left and right. And so this person is just hanging on for dear life for what? I'm gonna put them at what, 6 months probably, if that. But they should always be continuously interviewing. They should be applying even now. Move on as soon as they have enough time in the company not to kill the resume. Nah, man, the resume is growing with or without that company. That's the point. So I could be hired on tomorrow, and the following week I'm shooting out applications for something better. Why? Because I want to say within the month, I'll have understood an organization's system inside and out, mind you. I'll have understood, and this is me starting entry level. If you have enough skill, I believe enough social skill, you're able to navigate a large area in that corporate hierarchy, in that pyramid, where you're able to interrogate individuals in numerous positions, and you connect the dots so you know what's going on in the organization. You know how it operates. You don't have to live out an entire career, become a lifer, to know what it feels like to be a CEO. Go interview the motherfucker. Go interview that person and ask. That's all it takes, right? So the following month, I'm taking interviews. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting for enough time to lapse so that it doesn't kill my resume. Nah, man. If it's killing my soul, I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting. Now, call that reckless, right? But I feel like people might be better off just becoming independent contractors and not sticking around a a place because it offers more money. But again, that entails being thorough from the very beginning, even when you're interviewing, asking around, researching what it's like to even work at a company, asking somebody who works there what it's like they're at the company and what prospects look like for an entry-level employee or someone who's lateraling in. I'm going to just say entry level because most great commercial states right now, states with a lot of commerce happening, are right to work states. So yeah, you're going to be entry level for most of your life if you're looking to get into big business. So I might advise, I might suggest or insist that you go the way of the corporate cowboy and become an independent contractor, a gun for hire. Somebody else states here, a comment here, that I just started a new job. It's 3 days in the office, 2 days work from home. In office, it's 8 to 4:30, and work from home, it's 9 to 5. Personally, I love it. Plus, they pay me a shit ton of money. I'm only 25 and I love working. Don't think I could ever retire. That sounds like an optimistic person. Comment below that says, or a response to that comment states or asks, what is your job? Honestly, working at the office and a few days at home is a great idea. So it's good. It's becoming more common. And I would agree. I would definitely agree with that move. I think the light bulb and corporate leadership fucking went off finally with this thing with lockdowns and shit like that. Why? Because folks saw that productivity went up when folks are working in an environment that they don't have to drag themselves to or drive out real far and plan around their day an 8-hour block that they can't access certain comforts that they would find at home, right? I feel like for some it's even harder to concentrate in a position in the office because they're so close in proximity to one another that if they aren't working together, working alongside one another on different tasks, tends to throw off the productivity, the vibrations for productivity in a room. At least that's what I've seen personally in doing social research in my time as an employee and in my time managing. This next comment actually says, I haven't worked 40 hours in years. Most of the time I'm looking at 45 to 55 hours. Personally, it's fine. To be honest, would have a hard time dropping down to 40. Generally, anything in that range is manageable if you enjoy the work and can keep moving with it. To that, I agree. And most of the hours that I've put in have been around that range, 45 to 60, just below 60, because otherwise you're eating into personal time. And unless the job pays not even handsomely. I mean, I feel like if you're working 45 to 55 a week, you want to be paid handsomely. If you're working beyond that, I'm looking at something exorbitant, some exorbitant amount that necessitates, that entitles my clients to that portion of my time, because that eats into time that I could be using for other projects. I mean, I personally have my own prerogatives, my own priorities when it comes to professional development, where I understand that the law of diminishing returns actually has a longitudinal, like, how do I break that down? The law of diminishing returns has a sell-by date, has an expiry date. It has a certain deadline, and it's out in the future somewhat, but it comes with long projects. It comes with long projects that require expending enormous effort and or investing large amounts of time, almost unreasonable amounts of time. And that could easily become a situation where you're just showing up to clock in time. You're just showing up to satisfy a client. You're showing up to satisfy a manager. If it's not work that you enjoy doing, if it's not work that fulfills you, that satisfies you, right? And to me personally, I could do it, like I said, for the right price, for an exorbitant value. Why? Because otherwise I'm sacrificing my time, my opportunity costs in terms of time that I could be using to develop myself in other areas, especially if it's a project that is repetitive, that is monotonous, that is mundane, right? That's really tedious. Then I'm gonna obviously be itching to, I don't know, fucking let guns fly or something like that. I'm going to be itching to start something, to move up, to progress, to change, so that even that could influence the work product that I produce and my interaction with the client. Let's read one or two more. This next one says, I work 4 10s. And what that means is 4 days, 10-hour shifts, or 4 shifts, 10-hour shifts. 4 shifts, 10 hours each, sorry. And they say, life is great. All companies should switch to the 4 10s schedule. Work life has never been better and burnout is minimal. I tend to agree. I tend to agree. I feel like 10 hours is a reasonable shift, especially if it's work that you enjoy doing. And then the 3 days off serves as a quality reset. And I mean, I don't know if you want those 3 days together or if you want to break up the 4 shifts with a day off in between. But that's that again might be personal preference, and you could negotiate your way around that if you find a company, an organization worthwhile and that's capable of interacting with you on a professional level. Again, those are few and far in between. That's why you don't see 4 10s being the norm. One more here says, here's one from a foreigner, actually says, in my country, it is completely normal. However, in my current work, we do not do it like that, but rather we work by results. So it is pretty flexible. Yeah, it sounds like they're working on a project, on a case-to-case basis. You don't just show up 8 hours a day. Well, I mean, let me finish here. They say you do not have to be 8 hours a day in front of your computer to accomplish your goals. That's basically one of the main reasons the company has a high percentage of people who is very committed or who are very committed. And I would agree with that model. If you work on a project-to-project basis and you finish a project either on time or early, regardless of how many hours you spend in front of your computer, within reason, again, unless you are really passionate about the work and you see yourself putting in more than 8 hours a day just for the love of the game. If you're working on a project-to-project basis, I feel you're entitled. You're entitled to the pay, to the compensation, especially if you are confident in your skills, if you are confident in your capabilities and your competency. I feel you're entitled to be paid handsomely, and regardless of the number of hours you work in a day. I feel like in the area of law, this happens a lot, and that's why lawyers can set their rates, their hourly rates, to any level, really, right? But they've got to have the juice to back it up with, right? And that's why rates begin anywhere from 0 to 1,000, from 0 to 2,000. 3,000, 5,000. I've heard of some pretty insane rates out there, but I feel like if it's within some reason, right? I'm not even saying it's just reasonable. It could be unreasonable to many, but if it's within some reason, like if I'm consulting with an outside expert and they're the chief expert, a leading expert in this very, very niche, specific area of law, I feel like they might be entitled to something like a $20,000 contract, and they might only participate, a handful of hours. So they're making money hand over fist, but they also might be very, very sought after, which means that their availability is little to none, especially if there's very few of this type of expert available. And again, that goes all the way back to you moving to improve yourself, to develop yourself professionally. And even a lawyer at one point in time might have had a 40-hour work week before considering law school, going to law school, barring up, getting licensed, making a name for themselves in the field, setting themselves apart from the masses of lawyers out there, and becoming an expert, becoming a chief, becoming a fucking corporate cowboy, knowing how to handle themselves from client to client, negotiation to negotiation, contract to contract. So what's it like working 40 hours a week? I don't know. You tell me. You make it what you want. From the very beginning, from your first interview, you have to walk in confident that you know what you want to do, even if you don't know what you're doing. That's how you learn. That you know what you want to do, that you know what you want out of that position. What you want is to advance. What you want is to improve. And you always want to be improving. Don't get locked in to a lifer position. Don't become a lifer. After a month, after 2 months, maybe a business quarter, you're back out in the market. Sure, you're still working your 8 hours a week, but you're back out in the market. You're seeing what else is available. What's the next hit? What's the next lick? Something that you can continue moving and building and growing. If you can't do it inside, go outside. If you like this type of content, don't hesitate. Follow us on Instagram. The page is always available at your service. It's Corporate Cowboys. It's at Corporate Cowboys with a Z. And of course, the Patreon is available. That's the Corporate Cowboys podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to donate, by all means, there's donation links available. I'm going to close it right here. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.